What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Tyler's talking RC with my buddy Tyler and my buddy Olin. Sorry we missed you last week. We took the night off. That was on me. I wasn't feeling too well, so hey, what are you gonna do? We're back. I was. What are you gonna do? But anyway, we're back. Today we were talking about tires. Everything about tires, racing tires, batching tires, maybe a little bit on crawling tires. But first, of course, the news. First and foremost, this weekend is the Mini Nationals, Saturday and Sunday. Check out the Mini Nationals Facebook group for full details. I think they just released a full itinerary for it, and rock crawling Sunday. So check all that out. Way more detail on there. Going to be a good time. There's a million prizes to give away. We got them in this room here, and they're in front of us, and it's just a stack of prizes over here. So to be honest with you, at the going rate with the prizes, you could probably make money by coming to this race.
Oh yeah, you definitely gotta.
It's insane. This is even if you just sign up, just not even to race, just to get into the giveaway.
Well, not only that, but just remember the people who bought their cars, they're not even paying to race. They're racing for free.
Yeah, this is true.
So,
Entered into the giveaway, dude.
Yeah, so I'm
There's
like,
literally a stack of cars over here. And if you guys haven't been following along on the Facebook page, I've been dropping some videos here and there as the prizes roll in. And honestly, more came in I didn't even do a video on yet. So it's crazy. So like the Facebook page, so check that out, Facebook and Instagram, for more videos on the giveaways. But like I said, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be a good time. Awards, giveaways.
Fun
racing.
Fun.
So come on down. And the other thing, we got the Armageddon sale. I love it. Armageddon. It just hit me that it was that.
It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks I've been doing the sale, and I didn't even realize they called it Armageddon.
He did all the setup for it, too.
Yeah.
So the Armageddon
boxes.
The Armageddon sale, Arma cars are all on sale, varying from, I think, $50 to $100 off, depending on the car. So some solid deals.
So I think it's 25 to 75.
Is it? No, because the Creighton 8S's are 100 off.
Oh, they are?
I think it might be some 25s in there, but I thought it was 50.
All right.
But either way, pretty much 95% of the cars have some kind of deal going on. Just a couple of the brand new ones, like the Fire Team, I don't think has anything, but the Arma sale going to the end of the month. If you're looking to get an Arma, it's an awesome deal. Come down, snag one.
Best time of year to do it.
We got it going. Yeah, it's beautiful out today. Getting into the bashing season.
Yep.
And speaking of bashing, we're going to talk about bashing tires and the selection for those today. We're going to go bashing or racing first. I guess we'll go racing first because I got more. There's less to talk about. I got less to talk about for racing than I do bashing, honestly.
Okay.
So first,
Indeed, we follow.
all right, so we're going to talk about the racing tire scene. So just a brief overview. We're basically talking about, tire compounds, tire tread patterns, the surface that they're made for. Does your car have a lot of power? What's it rated for? Should I go big pin, small pin? Stuff like that we're going to be talking about, so kind of some technical stuff in your tire choice. Because I do see a lot of people coming to the shop and just buying tires randomly and throwing them on the car, and maybe they blow up, or maybe they don't have good traction on the track, or vice versa, stuff like that. So that's kind of why we wanted to talk about this today, because tires is something that we sell a lot of. So let's get right into it. The racing scene. So I kind of have a little chart that I drew here.
He made a flow chart.
It's pretty terrible, but it should keep us on track. Hey, you had the whiteboard the other week.
I don't want to talk about it.
All right, so I got a flow chart.
What's the matter? You've never seen a hypocrite before?
I just did. All right, so racing, I got it kind of broken down into surface because that's generally what you're picking tires for in racing. I got carpet, road / asphalt / drag racing, and then dirt. So those are the three main food groups that we have here at Madness.
Turf.
Carpet and turf, I'm kind of putting in the same. Carpet and turf is the same category.
There's a lot of crossover.
Same tires, but yeah, good catch. I should have put turf and carpet. So first we'll talk about carpet / turf. So carpet and turf racing. So basically we're talking an RCMadness perspective, of course, because that's where we are. And we're just going to base it off the tracks we have and the surfaces that we run with the tires that we run. So that's where we're going to leave it at that. If you're somewhere else and you're, hey, we run this tire, that's fine. Maybe someone else is working. Full disclosure. End of disclosure right there. All right, so carpet / turf. I got three major brands for us: Schumacher, JC, and Proline. I don't know if you guys got anything else there. That's what I was thinking, as far as from a selling standpoint.
No, because
they're the big three for a reason.
Yeah. And as far as popularity goes with us, Schumacher by far the most popular, followed by JC, and then Proline after that. Schumachers just tend to work the best. Now there's a few different tread patterns for each one of these tire companies, of course. Schumacher tires, I'd say, talking rear tires, most popular being Mesos, Cactus, and Darts for carpet and turf on regular race conditions.
I would put Darts and Cactuses almost together.
No, Darts and Mesos.
Interesting. Yeah,
You said Darts and Cactuses?
Yeah.
in terms of
In terms of what?
how they perform or in terms of popularity.
Popularity, maybe. Performance, difference.
No, I'm saying proper. Like those are two most common.
Popularity, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, this was the first year that the Mesos kind of caught on too,
Correct.
because
It's
I
the
look.
first year they came out.
That makes perfect sense.
They only been out for a year.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they're brand
I just noticed, like, I remember seeing them on your car, and I was like, wow, that's like a mini Dart
bigger,
on steroids.
pretty much.
They last a lot longer. They're softer.
And that's what I've noticed, is they generate traction very similar to a mini Dart,
Mm-hmm.
but they last 2 to 3 runs, 1 to 2 runs longer,
Right.
depending on what you run. And I think because they have the taller profile spike, or whatever you want, Dart, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
I feel like they give the rear end just a little bit more, as I'm wiggling my chair back and forth, like a little bit more freedom of movement. Whereas with the Darts, it's like being Velcroed to the track when they're fresh.
Yeah, they're kind of sharp.
You know.
Short and nubby, and they dig in a lot
So
easier.
For as far as Schumacher goes, I ran all 3 tires
Mm-hmm.
on my car, and while all 3 of them work, you can make the car work with all 3, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Yeah,
The Mesos is what I stuck with because I like them, but I did originally run mini Darts, so
Mhm.
I did like the Mesos a little better. I thought they lasted a little longer, and I just like the way they feel. Just couldn't explain it really, I suppose.
Mm.
And Cactus, to me, worked really well when they were fresh, but my problem is with the Cactus is when I was running it, it seems as though it started to get real slippery,
yeah,
but then when I inspected the tire, they didn't look very worn out.
yes.
So it was hard for me to tell, was this tire worn out? But then I go drive it, and it was like getting...
No, this thing's all over the place.
I'm like, what the heck's going on here?
I think that's the problem I always had with the Cactuses, was, you're trimming the outside row because it kind of mellows the car.
Right.
So for a run or two, they feel
Perfect.
really good.
Right.
But then after that, they start to fall off. So if you're running a Cactus tire, you're probably going to be running more rear toe. You're going to be tuning the car to put a little bit more bite in the back. Whereas the mini Dart and the Meso,
I didn't even grab the tires.
that's when you're going to be looking more at, like, half a degree or very little rear toe.
I think I have tires.
Tesco ones were the only ones I didn't grab. I grabbed the other one. It's okay. They
I think that's...
they know the majority we're talking about here.
They're right there.
Well, you can grab a set if you want. So those are the Schumacher tires, basically. And then the front tires...
Cut stagger.
Hold on, just grabbing a set over here. Yeah, cut staggers in the front. Pretty much no argument there. And then the four-wheel drive, pretty much the Cactus Fusions they run on the front. Some guys will mess with full Cactus or full Darts, but pretty much Fusions 95% of the time.
Yeah.
So most of the arguments for rear tires.
So for Schumacher, we're looking at yellow is the most common compound that's run here,
Right.
indoors. So yellow is your all-purpose soft compound.
Yep.
I can zoom in here today.
See if we crash the computer. And go.
Here we go. So we got Meso, Cactus, so you can see the pin difference there. And the Dart is just a little bit smaller of a pin on that one.
Yeah.
That's
Very similar.
Regular 10 scale size
carcass.
tire there.
So the Cactus is basically a very dense, small pin. The Meso is a very less dense, large pin. The Mini Dart is, like you said, is very similar to that. But
Height-wise, about the same, too.
so those are going to be in a yellow compound. The yellow is pretty much what everybody runs on the carpet here.
Yep.
Unless it's like brand new carpet and it's developed that kind of like sticky groove that we saw a month after the carpet was new, where it got insanely grippy for maybe a month or two. You might go to the blue compound, which is a little bit harder than yellow.
Yeah.
There's even a green, which is between yellow and blue. So it actually goes yellow, green, blue in terms of, decreasing softness.
Yeah.
And then they have a silver, which the silver is like insanely gooey. That's just for outdoors, like if it's wet.
Yeah, we run that
on the Astro
early in the morning when the dew's still on the track.
Interesting.
Or if you get a sprinkler or something like that.
Yeah, the silvers. I bought a set by accident once.
Well, pretty much.
And they like were stuck together. They're so
pretty much just go yellow, and you're
Yep.
pretty much a safe bet on that. So that's pretty much the Schumacher tires, and then we have JC tires, which I'll let Tyler talk a little bit more because he has a little more experience with JCs than I do.
The JC stuff. So, a few of us here over the winter played with JC tires a lot, and when the carpet was new and it had that super aggressive grippiness for that month and a half to 2 month window. Nothing against the Schumachers. I felt they were too aggressive in a yellow compound. I tried the blue compound. It was good for like a run or two, but it wasn't what I wanted. So like Fumi and I were experimenting with the JC tires. Their rubber, so it's like a double pink is their carpet compound.
I got some of those too.
It's not as soft as a Schumacher yellow. It's probably like a little softer than their green. So it's between a yellow and a green for Schumacher.
Yeah.
But they mellowed the car a ton. And they also have some really unique tread patterns that nobody else has, where they would put like the sawtooth on the back tire. They called those the pin swags. And it mellowed the car when you had a really aggressive track. So I liked the JC, and their front tires basically perform like a Schumacher front, like the cut stagger. They're very grippy and they bite great. So yeah, so if we were to zoom in on these, opposite day.
We got fuzz bites and what was the other one?
So these are the fuzz bites,
Yeah.
which are not really wanting to focus. Ooh, there we go.
Oh, it's 'cause my face.
So your face is the problem.
The camera's made to pick up faces.
So that's the fuzz bite. It's kind of like a mini pin. It's reminiscent of the cactus, but they don't have on the outside here. It's actually there's no pin. It's scalloped. So they basically instead of you having to cut the outer row like you would on the cactus, they do it for you, and it takes away the edginess. It makes for a car that drives really well. The other thing is, gosh, this is always going to mess with my brain. You can run them in this direction, or you can flip them to change how aggressive they are. You'll generate more forward bite when they're scalloped in one direction versus the other. And then this other tire, they call the twin pin. It's kind of like a mini dart if the pins were joined at the hip. Like it's literally two pins like this. The twin pins were good. We didn't use them much. It was either the fuzz bites or the pin swags, which the pin swag rears had that scallop on the inside and the outside, again, to make the rear of the car less aggressive and not want a traction roll. But as the grip started to fall off again, a lot of us we weren't getting the same results with the JCs because that overabundance of grip was gone out of the carpet. And we went back to Schumachers, and it's mini darts and Mesos. Right. So the Schumacher stuff always ends up being the go-to, especially for someone that doesn't want to experiment. Just get Mesos and cut staggers on the front and go.
That leaves our honorable mention, Proline. Sorry, guys. At least for us, they're not really in the game too much around here. They had a pretty good tire, the Pyramid with a Z4 compound, but as far as I know, they have since discontinued it, so we couldn't get it anymore.
And that was the stickiest compound.
Right.
Which is going to be the fastest compound.
Right.
So
so they make prisms, I think prisms and pyramids. I really don't have much experience with them because I don't run the Proline ones, and I don't, honestly, if you come here on a Friday or a regular night, you might see one guy
one or two
running
people.
And
I did experiment with them. I would say they're similar to the JC tires. They're not as sticky of a rubber. So if you're trying to mellow the car, it's great. But if the carpet's on the way out, or if it's like a low carpet, it doesn't have a lot of depth to it, you're back to Schumachers.
Yeah. So Proline is kind of, maybe they'll figure it out. They'll come out with something. I don't know. But at the moment, Schumacher is king, JC2, Proline 3.
Yep.
That's the consensus.
Which makes sense because Schumacher's bread and butter is carpet and Astro because they're the English company, whereas JC and Proline have been running in the dirt
right
for the majority of their history.
Trying to get in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, when we do switch to the dirt category here, Proline does come back around. So we might as well actually just talk about dirt because we're talking about off-road cars. That was pretty much carpet in a nutshell.
Yeah.
There's not much else there. We could get more technical about how to run the tires and stuff like that, but we're just doing more of an overview, not so much technical. The buggy setup, which we can do in another one if you guys want to see more stuff like that. Just drop a comment. And then for dirt, pretty much going to talk 8 scale for dirt because that's what we run. We don't run 10 scale dirt. I got a couple tires here, the new stuff. So this year, if you just watched our 8 scale podcast, you know we don't really know what the choice of tire is going to be this year, so I'm just basing it off of last year's knowledge. Reason being, we got new dirt coming and a roller, so that's going to kind of change the surface for us. So we're just going to base it off what I know about tires in general for dirt racing, and it's going to be an 8 scale deal. So Tyler, pop one of those tires out and pop one of those tires out. I got a buggy and a truggy tire here.
Hey, there's Ziploc bags.
Yeah, they're pretty nice. So basically, when we're talking dirt, it's comes down to the size of the pin. I'll zoom in for it. It's coming down to the size of the pin, and then the space between the pin. Okay, so yeah, it's good. Okay, I did grab the right tires. So this is a truggy tire and this is a buggy tire. That's the size difference here. All right, so you guys see what I'm talking about here. So the buggy tire, it's a fairly large pin with the spacing quite spaced out, and then obviously the opposite on the truggy tire here. So just talking about tread, when it comes to running in the dirt, depending on the condition of the dirt, and by that I mean usually temperature and moisture content is basically what comes that. So if you're running on a track that has a decent amount of moisture in it and it's not very packed, a little bit loomy as we call it, you're going to probably want to run a tire with a bigger lug with more spacing. Reason being is with the moisture in the tire, the dirt's going to want to stick to the tire, and it's going to pack in all the spacing, and the pin. And
then you have a slick.
And, yeah, you're essentially going to be running on a slick tire until you whack it full throttle and the dirt clears out. But coming in through a slow corner, it's going to want to push through the corner because the tire's loaded up. So by the pin being taller and bigger and the spacing between them, you're less likely to load up with dirt. And then obviously the exact opposite for the other tire, with it being a smaller, lower pin and the spacing tighter. If the track is hard and dry, you're not going to load up with dirt, but you'll have more contact area with the tire, therefore more traction, and that is the prevailing theory.
And I mean, obviously you can't through the video, but if to feel these tires and you kind of run your finger over the tread,
you can feel
these are not hard rubber knobbies like a motocross bike tire, for instance. No. These little nubs, they roll right under the pressure of your fingers. So under load on the track with
my camera can even see this.
With an 8-pound car weighing down on it, they're gonna lay down, and it gives you more surface area to grip the track.
Yeah, and running in line with the. You want to see one?
I want to feel. I want to see.
So in running in line with the pin. I touch it.
I'm gonna steal these. I'm gonna take them home. I don't even have a cart belt yet.
So running in line with the pin size and distance comes compound, so harder and softer. That's really gonna come down to more how you like the feel of it. Generally, a softer compound with a more loose track, and a harder compound with a more traction on the track. Usually if the track becomes more compact and grooved up, you can get away with a little bit harder compound because there is more traction actually on the track, not so much on the tire. So that's just something you got to kind of feel, and if you like the softs, the super softs, you maybe like the medium. And with a softer compound does come more traction, but also comes more tire wear and more tire ballooning. So you got to find that area that you kind of like, that you're acceptable with the amount of traction and tire wear. So basically that's just a scale dirt tire choice in a nutshell. Obviously they make multiple different tread patterns. It's not just these are the big lugs and these are the small ones. There's a bunch of different small ones. There's a bunch of different big ones.
Every company probably has their own twist on a given pattern.
And these are the new Gecko tires. This is what most of us are gonna be trying this year. Proline makes awesome tires, and JC also makes awesome tires. This is where Proline actually shined. All last year we ran Proline tires.
Yep.
AK was pretty good too, but Prolines were more available. So they are really good, so I can't go wrong with a Proline tire or a JC tire. These ones just came out this year, so we're going to be running the, well, I don't know if they came out this year, but we just got them this year. And they look really good, and they feel really good. The glue job looks nice on them, so we're all on board, giving it a rip. So that's A-scale tire choice real quick there for you, and I'm sure I missed someone yelling at me, but that's okay. So that's pretty much the dirt and carpet turf game. Oh, there it goes. It's okay. I did that earlier.
Perfect.
They go back on.
Way to go, Tyler.
Hey,
So
I'm new to 8th scale.
So moving to the last surface here for racing, which is road racing. There's quite a few different road classes that we run. There's 10 scale road racing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna throw drag racing in there, even though that's kind of a different game too. Then there's carpet on road, and we all use different tires, but mostly for on road racing, it comes down to the class. A lot of classes restrict what tires you can use anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like Formula One, you got to use Formula One tires. There are a few different compounds, but that comes down to if you run on asphalt or carpet, you make softer or harder tires, and also there's not really too many different brands in those, but there's a couple different brands for like Formula One or World GT. But they're all slick tires. Then there's touring car, which usually runs a slick rubber tire, or a US GT car, which is a controlled tire. They all have to run a certain tire, so you don't get to pick. You just got to make what work. And that can be based on a track, per track rules.
That's a nice thing, though. And I noticed, I'm pretty sure the oval guys are on the same program where it's like, no, this is the tire that we run.
Right, the foam tires, they have that purple stripe down the center, which I think we talked about in our oval on-road podcast a little bit. So it's a controlled tire, so you kind of have to run what the shop is telling you to run, or that class national rule or something.
Well, I mean, it does a good thing because, like, right now, if you look at carpet off-road, there's a huge offering of tires that you guys have to stock. Right?
Yeah.
From 3 different brands, and each brand has, say, 5 or 6 different flavors.
Right.
That's how it was with oval when I used to run, was you had, like, 2 different manufacturers.
Gray, white, blue, purple.
Yeah. There were probably 10 different colors, and the color was basically the porosity of the foam and how hard it was, the durometer. And it became a pain in the butt because it was like, oh, well, this guy's running blue, he's running double blue, he's running triple blue. So when you have like, nope, we all run this here, that's one less variable. Go tune the car.
And a lot of the on-road game is that. So depending on your class, you may have to decide. And we're just talking racing here. We haven't talked bashing yet, which is a different conversation. But for racing, on-road, find out what the class is running and go from there, because most of the time it's some kind of controlled tire. And then as far as drag racing goes, I'm not going to go too deep on that because the tire game in drag racing is very serious, because that's half the battle is getting traction and the other half is going straight. So let's be honest. So speaking of drag racing tires, I actually have my buddy Cody coming next week, which I forgot to tell you guys about, but Cody's coming next week.
So which one of us is fired?
We'll have a fire battle next. Yeah. But he's going to come with me down, I believe, next week and talk more technical drag racing. But just to touch on it for anybody that might miss that, they run the slick tires in the back. They usually run basically a belted tire at this point, because if you run a non-belted tire, they blow up.
Yep.
Really?
Pretty much all the tires got a Kevlar belt in them, which we're going to talk about a bit in bashing in a second anyway. Front tires don't matter nearly as much in drag racing because
they don't do anything.
They don't touch half the time.
It's just a little bit
it's mostly style points and there's a little bit of tuning involved. They run the real skinny ones or something like that. But
they should have went back to the tube. They should have allowed the tube.
The tube?
Yeah.
What's that?
Like some guys are running. Well.
Oh, like the O-ring tire.
Yeah, that would have been like perfect.
Right, those got banned.
Yeah.
But. The rear tires for us, the most popular here, if you're just looking to, I don't know what to get, the Proline reaction tires on the beadlock rims are by far the most popular.
Yep.
Because they're the easiest to get and they work the best. There is a few other out there, like the Voodoo ones are real popular, but they're super hard to get.
Yeah, you can
people are price gouging like crazy. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff like traction compounds and stuff like that they put on their tires and different ways to condition tires. But we're going to get into that, I think, next week a lot deeper when Cody comes down. So stay tuned for that one. So that's basically our racing in a nutshell. at least the major events that we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, tire choice plays a big part in how your car works, whether it's 10 scale, 8 scale, drag racing. So, yeah.
One final thing I will say. In the context of racing, the freshness of your tires, at least for the stuff I've done, on especially carpet off-road,
Right.
but I'm sure on-road there's to an extent. How fresh your tires are makes a world of a difference. I've seen a lot of people come in here for the first time, second time. They're newbies to the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And you watch somebody try to make a lap, and the back end is coming around on one turn, and then the next turn the car pushes and it won't turn, and it just looks like a hot mess. It's usually the first place I go to when I talk to somebody and try to help them is look at your tires. And people will look at a set of these Mesos that are half worn and be like, and when I say half worn, I mean half of the nub is gone. They'll be like, well, there's still 50% life left in the tire. It's not like a car where you run it down to the wear strip.
With it.
It's, well, right. Most of these tires peak after 3-4 runs, and then, they're only going to get worse. So if you're out there on bald tires, you're not having fun. You're not getting the most out of the car. And it's even true to a limited extent with the Traxxas crowd.
Right.
When they come in with the stock tires on the car, they're great for outside.
Whoa. Gotta save it for the bashing section.
But they're not suited to indoors.
And to piggyback off you, most of the newbies, they have used cars. And they're like, well, so-and-so sold me this car and said this is what he ran. Yeah.
Sure. Was so-and-so fast?
Yeah.
And usually if somebody's selling a car, they don't put a set of brand new tires on it.
No.
Just saying.
I mean, I think I did when I sold my Schumacher, but...
You're just being a nice guy.
Yeah.
That and
I'll sell tires with it.
That and talking about all these different brands of tires, just because I say I like Mesos doesn't mean that you have to like them either.
No. And they might not work for you.
And you can run whatever tire you like,
Right.
and honestly, when it comes down to it, you're just gonna have to try them all. Not even trying to be a salesman here. You're just gonna have to try them all and find out which one you like, because while that one works for me, it may not work because I'm running a completely different car and a completely different driving style.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys. Can different driving styles be determined by the tire?
What do you mean?
So if I'm an aggressive driver, is there one tire that I should use?
Well, that's gonna be. I think that's something that you have to try, though. That's
So
what I'm saying.
that's
Like if you're an aggressive driver, you just hammer it into the corner. Maybe you need a less aggressive front so your car doesn't flip over or something like that.
right. But these are the type of questions that somebody new is like, how do I know what tire fits my driving style?
But you don't know until you try it.
I would argue that if you're new, you don't have a driving style.
That's true too.
Buy the Mesos and the cut staggers and go learn how to turn laps.
Because 9 times out of 10, they're trying to follow somebody else that they saw.
But that's what I'm saying, is just because I'm saying try these, you come back to me, I don't like those tires. Okay, then try this set of tires.
Right.
Maybe you like these. Just because I said I like them doesn't mean you have to. Maybe
No, I agree with you 100%.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm just playing devil's advocate because, there's some people out there just like, these are the type of questions that somebody might be afraid to ask.
And that's where if you recognize the three of us and you're in here, or whatever, some of the regulars that are staples and they're always in the place, just ask.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be like, go away.
Yeah, you can't see what I'm running. Like,
If you see a group of 4 or 5 people standing around, ask them what tires they're running, and then see if you can get best 3 out of 5.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Crowdsource.
Yeah.
There you go. There's
Or
your next pick.
Or the one guy who walks away, follow him.
Sometimes there just is a definitive tire, and
Yeah.
you just gotta run it.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to dirt, if we find out one of these is working on
We're all
a Friday
gonna run
night, every single car will have that set of tires on them.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Well, because you're not going to do a ton of R&D and testing on a Friday night. You're going to be like, those feel good? Okay, I'm going to go grab a set.
That's basically how we decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. And as the night goes on, another set of tires might work better.
That's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
But anyway, racing tires,
Bashing.
try them all. There's a bunch of different ones. And then moving on to the second half of the podcast, bashing tires, which arguably is a larger category because there's so many different cars, so many different combinations, and so many different power levels. So bashing for me is not going to be so much which tire is right for you, because some guys just buy tires because they look cool, some guys buy tires because they perform better. But basically getting a tire that you're going to be happy with your setup. Bashing for me either is happening in the dirt or on the street. And there's obviously better tires for one than the other. But for bashing, you can run whatever tire, whatever you want, whenever you want. So basically for me, when it comes to bashing, let's say Tyler P came to me with his, his Arma Typhon buggy, 6S buggy. First I would ask him, what car do you have? I got my Arma buggy, blah. Okay, how much power are you running? You running a 3S, you running a 4S, you running a 6S on this? What are you doing with it? Oh, I'm running 6S, and I'm got it as fast as it can go. All right, so now you got this super fast car, and you need good tires for it. Because when you start putting bad tires on super fast cars, they start exploding.
Or not stopping.
So then at that point, I know he's running a lot of power, but I'm like, okay, what surface you going to run it on? Tyler's going to be like, well, I run it everywhere. That's what I get every time. Okay, I understand. You run it everywhere. I get it, okay? You bring it to the park, you hit the pavement, you hit the dirt.
Parking lot, baseball diamond.
Everywhere.
Dining room.
So first thing I'm going to say is
Kitchen floor.
they don't make a good tire that runs everywhere. You're either going to have street tires and they're not going to go through the dirt very well, or you're going to have off-road tires and the street is going to tear them apart. So really for me, you really have to decide where you want to run this car, or don't be afraid to switch the tires mid-run. Because we just talked about these tires over here, these off-road dirt tires. They got a bunch of those little nubs on them, and they're generally a fairly soft compound. As soon as you hit the street with that, with a 6S Arma buggy,
it's gone.
They are going to tear right apart. They will be drag slicks by the end of your run.
Okay, I was going to ask, do you think in one run on,
Yes.
Gone.
3, 4, 5S, whatever,
If you're running
Gone.
you would smoke a set of those race tires?
any car. If you're running, I see Traxxas Slashes come in with the stock tires, which is a relatively hard compound.
Yeah.
Destroyed.
Two-wheel drive brush slashes coming in with bald rear tires because they run them in the pavement. And I have no problem with that. Don't get me wrong. You can run it. But you can't buy a knobby. They'll come in, I want new tires because they're bald. I say, that's no problem. So I show them these cool knobby ones, like I got my rack here. These Proline ones are pretty popular. Now these are X-Max ones. I just grabbed it. That was nasty. I grabbed it because there was a big rack here.
Nice rack.
So this one here. That was nice.
We're all 14.
These here, I got a paddle, a Badland, and a trencher.
Can I run these on the street?
You definitely can.
In the winter.
So these are the Proline Badland tires, which is a huge lug, pretty knobby. These are trenchers, a little bit bigger lug, it's pretty knobby, and of course we got paddles over here, which you just save for the sand and the snow. If you run them anywhere else, they're going to get torn apart. So this is a great tire right here, these Proline Badlands, for basically any scale car. Throw those back over there. Oh, big racks there. Again.
Not used to that.
So those Proline Badlands are awesome tires, and they make them 10 scale, 8 scale, 5th scale. They make them in the whole lineup.
Yep.
You can get those tires not belted, belted. So basically, just I touched on the drag stuff.
Glued.
All the belt does is keep the tire from expanding, and when you're running a certain amount of power, basically anything above a 3-cell at this point, if it's not belted, it's going to balloon up huge and eventually probably explode.
So is there a significant price difference between same exact size tire, belted, non-belted?
I would say probably a $15 difference.
Okay.
Per pair.
Per pair.
So it's, 30, 40. But, that $15 is just an average. When you go to that size tire, actually, I think that size tire is pretty much all belted at this point. I think you can still get Prolines unbelted, but they just came out with the belted variant. And it is a little bit more expensive, but well worth it because the tires, you're talking $200 for a set of X-Max tires. And you take it and blow it off the rim in the first run.
It's stop.
Basically a $30 tire, you're out.
For the percentage of the cost to have the belt
It's
in the
well
tire,
well
it's
worth
worth it.
Yeah.
It's not even a matter of like, well, it's slightly better performance. This is either going to turn into a hand grenade or it's not.
Right.
So it's kind of a no-brainer.
So yeah, to circle back to the on-road, off-road thing. So if you buy that Proline tire, that Badland, it's an awesome tire, but even that tire with the big lugs and a hard compound is gonna get torn up on the asphalt. Basically, running a car that's spinning on the asphalt is like hitting the tire with a belt sander.
Yeah.
It's essentially what you're doing, and these cars got so much wheel speed. Even like 3S trucks, 3S and up, they got so much wheel speed where they're just spinning out. you're going to grind those tires down like
Well,
crazy.
And nobody that's bashing is after like throttle control. Like,
Right.
oh man, I want to get the most
hammer.
acceleration with the least amount of tire spin. So I'm like really modulating and trying to get the right. It's like, nope, on, off.
Yeah. You're
You know.
bashing, you're beating on it, which I don't, that's fine. But you're going to have to take the good with the bad, because when you're just ripping on it and doing donuts and hammering it, tires are going to get damaged, they're going to get shaved down, they're going to wear out fast. So if you're planning on running your car on the street, I suggest getting street tires, and then if you do want to hit the dirt, get off-road tires and just pick a surface, because you'll save money in the end. So that being said, off-road tires, those Badlands are sweet tires, or any off-road racing tire. The trouble with the off-road racing tires is they do wear out fast for just general bashing, and if you don't need the extra grip and performance, it's probably not necessary. And usually you're not running on a groomed surface. You're like beating it in a park or a lawn or something like that, where the bigger, heavier like dirt bike lug is really going to actually dig in better for you.
Yeah.
So I'd suggest, if you're running anything with a decent amount of power, get a belted tire with a medium compound and a decent sized lug, and you can't go wrong. Proline, honestly, Arma makes pretty decent tires. Power Hobby, Gecko actually has a nice bashing line of tires as well.
Door Tracks has a good set too.
Yep, Dirt Tracks is not too bad. But yeah, so back to the on-road, off-road. For the on-road tires, they make nice on-road tires. Is something like this would be a street tire. These are GRPs. We use these a lot for speed runs. These cars they got a Kevlar belt in them, low sidewall, relatively. These are soft compound, but hard compound compared to off-road tires. The low sidewall on them keeps them from expanding a lot in itself, and also helps with turning, because there's not a lot of sidewall roll for on the street. And the Kevlar belt keeps them from exploding and expanding. Not to say they can't, because I know a lot of people that have. But these tires, I think they rate for about 120 miles an hour, which is pretty good. But even these will get worn down on the asphalt, but not nearly as fast as an off-road tire.
No. But with those, you gotta... With those, depending on the temperature outside, it would determine what
compound you run.
Yes, because when it's hotter, you want to go harder.
Yeah, if you're getting deep in... So, yeah, I know where you're going with that.
Yeah.
You're right. So, the GRPs and a lot of other on-road tires sell different compounds. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to say soft, medium, and hard.
Yep.
There's steps in between
Yeah.
that. So generally, what Olin's saying is, like, when it's hot out, like 95 degrees outside there, and you're going to want to run get away with running a harder tire, because it's going to be hotter, therefore stickier.
Yep.
And last a bit longer. Not saying you can't run it. If you run a soft tire in the heat, it grips really well.
Yeah,
but they come apart fast.
Yep.
So a lot of my speed run guys will run super soft tires on a really hot day, but they're just doing one pass.
Yes.
And these tires here, me and Olin have run these outside before. These GRP ones specifically, put a little heat in these tires, and they start picking up all the rocks on the ground.
They grip.
No kidding.
Yeah, they grip.
Just like a real race tire on a real car.
They get a little gummy marks on them, and they pick up all the rocks, and then you hit the throttle, all the rocks shoot out the tires.
Yeah, it sticks. Yeah. You do a quick little burnout.
Big time.
And then you launch it, and it sticks.
Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
But with that being said, if you got like a Arma felony or something like that, and you just want to bash with it and do donuts and skids around a parking lot,
yeah, you don't want a soft tire.
You don't want a super soft tire, because they're just going to melt down.
Right.
So you run a harder tire if you're just planning on doing drifting and just general parking lot bashing.
Yeah.
So even for the on-road game, you can buy different tires to even last longer. So basically, we're just trying to help you get the most out of your money for what you want to do. Is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, because if you buy the wrong tires, you could be back in the shop within like 10-15 minutes. But like, hey, these tires are
So when you're tire shopping, just know what car, what surface, how much power, and what you want to do with it.
Right.
Because there's so much of a tire selection that usually whoever's helping you with the tires, or even yourself, you can narrow it down and get the most for your money from these tires. Because let's be honest, these tires get kind of expensive when you got to keep firing them on the car.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? You got your X-Max and you're paying $200 to put new tires on this thing, and you trash a set of tires in the pavement in a day.
Oof.
That's expensive, man.
Yep.
That's a lot of money. So you use the tire appropriately with the right surface, and you can get a lot of mileage out of them.
Yep.
So something to consider in the bashing game. So another thing for the bashing is picking a good quality brand as opposed to just cheaping out too. Because we were talking about this a little bit earlier, like Proline, for example, makes, they're a tire company. That's what they make, is tires, and obviously bodies and stuff like that now.
Right.
But they started out making the tires. So they have a very good reputation. They use high quality rubber. They do a pretty good glue job. Not saying that there aren't defects out there. They make
It happens.
a bunch of tires.
Yeah.
There's bound to be one or two that come through that aren't good. But generally speaking, you can't go wrong with a Proline tire. They do some research and stuff like that. So let's say you spend, just keep going back to the X-Max. It's $200 for X-Max tires, or you found some online, some cheaper ones for $50. Wow, screaming deal, $50. Take them out 2 seconds. The rubber is thin as a hair, and it blows off the first time you whack the throttle.
Yeah,
They turn into pizza, and poof.
not only that, but some of those the rims that they sell them with are so like cheaply made. Like I've seen people in the parking like, oh, I bought these tires on Amazon. Okay, they run it, and the rim snapped from the torque of the torque of the motor.
And that's the difference between a top tier company, your Proline, J Concepts, maybe Gecko's gonna. I mean, every company has to start somewhere where they don't have a name. So, and I get that, but
we forgot sweeps.
I have seen them around.
Yeah, we ran them on dirt last year.
Well, and then like AKA is another good. They have a good reputation. Yeah. Even like Raw Speed, they're not huge here because that's more of like, I think clay. Jason Snyder is more like out on the other coast.
And more sleek clay.
But and they're dirt centric as a lot of the hobby is.
No knock to anybody who runs those. We don't do that.
Yeah, it's what's popular here is what we tend to be exposed to. But those companies, even like Raw Speed, it's a new company, but like he's all in, and you pay attention to what he does. There's R&D. They are spending money figuring out how to make a superior product. And when you buy something off of Amazon or off of insert generic marketplace, the plastics are not going to have the engineering behind them.
Correct.
The rubber is not going to have the engineering behind it. The quality of just the assembly is not going to be there. So yeah, I mean,
you're saving money. But
it might be fine on like a Tamiya Frog or something that's going to go slow and doesn't have any power. But I mean, these things border on like, they're no longer toys. They're not RC cars in the traditional sense. They're like
does 70 miles an hour.
They're like
pounds.
Powered industrial vehicles.
Yeah,
like
the average cars are anywhere from like 35 to 80 miles per hour now.
Right.
10 years ago, that was unheard of.
Yeah,
actually
especially for something the size of what we see today.
Right.
Speaking of tires, another thing to consider when bashing is if you have upgraded your car. So stock tires are, for most of the time, stock tires are rated for what the car comes with for power. So they're usually pretty good. Well, I'm going to stick with the X-Max because that's what we're rolling with. So the X-Max, for example, because it's a very upgradable car. The stock tires, they're okay. For the stock power with okay driving, you can usually get some good time out of them. Not saying that stock guys haven't blown the tires off, because it's happened. But for the most part, they're rated for the stock Traxxas X-Max power. So, brief side story, me and Justin actually just upgraded an X-Max for a customer with the 5th scale motor and speed control combo. Good lord. Gearing goes up, big motor, the whole show. It's ridiculous amount of power, backflip monster. So he took it to the park and jumped it up the jump and did a double backflip, and the tire just
I saw that video.
Yes.
Yep.
I have the short video on the channel. Check it out. He took it up, boom, tire just disintegrated. If you guys want to see a tire come apart.
Like it got shot by a sniper.
I posted on the Facebook post, I posted a picture of the tire, which has just a chunk like that just out of it, and the foam is just ejected.
The funniest part of that video was a girl laughing.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, the laughing was funny, but those were the stock tires, and we had basically just doubled the power of this truck.
Yeah.
And it just disintegrated the stock tire. He had a good time and a good laugh about it. So there's no problem there. He knew what was going on. But he came back, and I sold him a set of hard compound belted Proline tires to put up with the power.
Right.
So if you upgrade any car beyond what the manufacturer had put parts in it for, expect the tires to let go. Because, let's be honest, if you're running anything with significant power right now, it needs to be belted.
Yeah.
It's just, we're at a stage of RC cars where they need Kevlar belts.
What would be interesting to do is to take one of these crazy builds and do the math and figure out how many horsepower they are. Because everybody speaks that language.
That would be interesting.
So,
I know they've done some for the fifth scales. I don't know what the numbers are they're putting out, but yeah, that would be interesting to see. I don't know how we would test that.
it's just a math thing. It's
Well, there was a
motor and voltage. It's voltage and current, and there's really not a whole lot going on.
I saw a guy, a drag racer. He posted it based on like he did it with 3 motors. He did like a 3.5, a 4.5, and a 5.5.
Yeah.
And he put the equivalents of horsepower, what each motor was, and
Okay.
how.
What was it?
I
You
don't
gonna butter us up
yeah.
and not tell us? Yeah, you better find that. Now the audience is like,
Yeah.
Colin, what's the answer? Because now I want to know. How
I
much
gotta find
horsepower does a 3.5 put out? Oh, like 60, 70 horse.
Yeah. Well, without
Well, they're usually
without playing the videos, I don't know if I
60,
could do it.
70 horse.
Alright,
I'll find
we'll
it.
get
now.
back to you on
Yeah.
that one next
But
week, I guess.
it was cause it's that time of year, so you know I'm like starting to get back into drag racing. So I'm like, let me see what's out
It
there.
would be cool if we had a X-Max sized RC dyno.
It'd have to be like a hub dyno,
That would be sick.
like you'd use on a Subaru, all 4 wheels.
That would be cool, wouldn't it? Alright, somebody make one and send it to us.
Yeah.
And we'll use it.
We'll try it out.
Do it with the wheels off,
Yeah.
so that you're not grenading tires.
But could we make like a some sort of like treadmill or something that we could actually strap the car on and.
I have no idea.
It would be very difficult to. I mean, there are chassis dynos out there for RCs,
Right.
but to scale it up for an X-Max, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's
Alright.
very doable, but
Cutting
it's a
off
lot
the
of science.
tangent.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
What was the safe word?
Pineapples.
Pineapples.
Tangent cut off. Back to tires. We're
Alright.
talking dynos. That was
Anyway.
my fault. I actually started that. But,
You enabled it.
Yeah, you allowed
alright,
us.
so back to bashing tires. So,
Alright.
you know, picking the right tires,
Yeah,
picking the right surface.
don't go cheap.
Buy 2
No.
sets of tires if you want to run in the dirt and on road. I think at the end of the day, it'll save you some money instead of tearing apart off-road tires on the asphalt all
Yeah.
day. Picking the right tires for the amount of power you're going to be putting out. If you upgraded your car, go with beefier tires. And if you're going with beefier tires, pick a quality brand. Buy once, cry once. Just make it happen.
Buy once, cry once.
I mean, these tires aren't cheap. I get it. It's expensive to buy good, hard compound, belted tires.
It's just like a car. A real car.
But to be honest with you, have more fun with your car because the tires are going to balloon up less, so it stops doing all kinds of crazy stuff when you're going fast.
And you can control it.
And yeah, that's what I'm saying. You control it better because your tires aren't going wild and blowing off the rim.
Right.
I think the only last thing I want to touch on today is a little bit of tire maintenance and care.
Oh, we didn't go over crawling.
I was going to touch on crawling. Crawling is its own tire game. I think I'm going to do a whole crawler special with TJ, and then we'll talk about tires in that
Okay.
one.
Right.
But crawler tires more or less run the same. I'll touch on it briefly in a second. We'll go to I'll talk about crawler tires. Now he's got me all confused here. Way to go.
Sorry.
All right, we'll talk about tire maintenance in a second. We'll talk about crawler tires real quick. Got my little rack. This is the little rack. So crawler tires. Yes, that works. Crawler tires are a little bit different. They do wear out, but not nearly as fast as anything else because obviously you're crawling, going super slow. But here's where tread patterns and compounds play the biggest game. Softer tires, harder tires, sidewall height, different lug patterns, sidewall tread, tall sidewall, small sidewall. Now this is something obviously I can talk about for a whole show, which I'm going to do with TJ. But tire choice for that is a big deal depending on the class you're running, which again is limited to the size of the tires. You can see the small ones here and the bigger version here, class 1, class 2, and class 3. All same tread pattern but a different size tire. So These are all generally used with a beadlock rim as well. These are not glued on. They are clamped together so we can change them in and out. Foams play a big role in crawling, which we didn't really talk too much about in 10 scale or the 8 scale, which we do run different foams in those, but more or less what they come with at this point. And of course, if you're running a pre-mounted tire, you're stuck with whatever foam they put in there. But for crawler, we actually run 2-stage foams, hard foams, star cut foams. We got some 3D printed foams, which actually aren't foams, they're just plastic, but I'm going to call them that anyway. So the foam game is definitely a whole nother thing. So, like I said, crawling is its own deal, which we're going to have our own show about. But that being said, the Hyrax and Swampers are probably the most popular tires for crawling, no matter the scale. So if you just want to answer on which ones to buy, just go with Hyrax. That's Proline. Proline's got that game locked down. JC, RC four-wheel drive, and Pitbull, probably the next contenders in that one, with a few smaller brands kicking around in there. So that's crawler tires in a nutshell. It's a whole show.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
But I'm going to do that one with TJ at a later date, so stay tuned for the crawling especial.
Ramshambo.
And then we got just a little bit of tire maintenance, a little bit of tire care.
Okay.
For me, the biggest thing is water. Water kills tires. Straight up. Reason being, took your brand new truck out, had a snow day, you ripped it in the snow. It was awesome. Bring the truck inside, all the snow in the rims melt. All that melted snow goes in this little tiny vent hole in the rim. And inside that little tiny vent hole is this giant block of foam that just loves to absorb water. So this foam has now absorbed all this water overnight as your truck melted in the garage or wherever it was. Now your foam is just completely saturated with water. No big deal, right? Wrong. Take your truck out, whack it full throttle. That water doesn't want to go through the little hole. That water wants to go.
It doesn't want to go in, it wants to go out.
That water wants to leave that tire.
And it will.
The faster your car is, the harder that water wants to leave. So that water doesn't have anywhere to go but out, and out it goes. Boom! Blows the rubber right off the rim.
So how do you deal with that?
Well, there's a few things you can do. One is preventative maintenance. You can tape the little hole, the little vent hole if you're planning on going in water.
Shoe goo.
You can shoe glue the hole. I prefer to tape it because then you can peel the tape back off. Because you do want to have the vent hole, it provides a little bit of cushion when you're driving. For bashing, it does.
Yeah, it does. But I did.
If you're gonna just use them for water, then by all means just fill the hole.
Yeah.
I prefer to just use some electrical tape over the hole.
Yeah. I use shoe glue because like the shoe glue will stay on there because like after a while the tape comes off and then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can remove the tape.
So what if you have a pre-soaked tire? It's already wet.
Well, it's getting there.
Can you? All right.
It's getting there. Don't jump the gun.
Yeah.
We're
patient.
We're in pre-water right now.
Yeah.
I'll talk post-water in a minute. Pre-water.
So stay tuned.
1, don't run in the water.
Nope.
2, cover the vent hole with some tape and try to keep as much water as you can out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, if the bunch of snow or whatever, I'm going with snow on this, if it's just straight up water, this step doesn't count. If there's a bunch of snow packed in the back of the rim, clean the snow out. Try to get as least amount of water that can melt. If you're just running it in the water, proceed to step 4, which is there's water in the tire. So if there's water already in the tire, at this point, there's not a whole lot you can do. If you're lucky enough, the tire has come unglued a little bit for you to pull the foam out and let it dry out and stuff it back in, but that's a very rare situation. Doesn't usually happen. But some ready-to-run tires come less than desirably glued, and you can kind of peel them off, pull the foam out, put them back together, and re-glue them. That's only if you've won the lottery. If you haven't won the lottery, at this point, I'm considering the set of tires relatively ruined because they're full of water. Start poking holes on the outside of the tire. You basically just need somewhere to let that water escape when you spool up the car. So I usually, if you can punch a hole, like with some kind of punch, to actually remove a chunk of rubber, that's your best bet. But I've gone at it with just a sharp pick and then just kind of reamed a hole and kind of stretched it a little bit.
Real Hannibal Lecter stuff, huh?
Well, at this point, if you run the tire, it's going to get destroyed anyway, so you don't really have a lot to lose.
You have everything to gain by
everything to gain to try to get that water
getting
out.
it to drain.
if you can punch a hole, that's best, like a belt punch or something like that. There's an actual remove the rubber, because when you just stab rubber and pull it back out, it kind of just closes back up. And then once you do make that hole, bring the car outside, drive it away from you, and then hit the throttle. Don't hold it in your hand and then go, all right, I punched the hole, because water will go everywhere.
Pinwheel.
I've had it happen in here. Somebody, all right, I poked the hole in your tire. Okay, and they just do it right there at the counter. It's just, I'm like, can you take it outside and do that?
No.
But don't make too big of a hole, because then the foam will fall out the hole too. Yeah. So
yeah,
you might want to ease into the letting of the water out. Don't just crank it full wick. Just kind of let the water come out the best you can and let it dry. Or fill it with shugu.
No, you just take the rims off and let the tires dry. The foam dry on its own. It's gonna take a couple days.
It doesn't really dry that well inside the tire though. What I would do is take the tire off and squeeze out as much of the water as you can through the vent holes, and then put holes on the outside and let the car dry overnight, and then take it outside and drive it.
Yeah.
Because you wanted the least amount of tire in it when you actually do drive it, because you still do run the risk of the tire blowing off, even with the holes on the outside. At this point, you're just trying to save your set of tires. It's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
Right.
Dip them in the acetone. Take them to
just buy new ones.
Yeah, that too.
But if you don't want to deal with the water problem, don't drive in the water. That's the only way. If you're running in the water or the snow, you're just going to have to accept that you're going to deal with some kind of risk to your tires.
Yep.
And that's just how it's going to have to be. Well, every time we go out and play in the snow, fills up with water, we got water in that set of tires. That's what it is. Another thing for maintenance on tires, making sure your tires are tight on the car. Okay? I know it seems trivial, like, oh, of course, why wouldn't I put my... If that nut is a little bit loose...
It's going to come off.
Right, exactly. If that nut's a little bit loose and you're running 6S power and you're truggy...
you probably don't want to get whacked by one of those tires, do you?
Well, not even that. You know what's worse than water blowing off in your tire? At least you got to use the tires, putting on a brand new set of tires and halfway tightening the wheel nut and stripping the hex right off of it.
Oh, yeah.
So you just bought $100 worth of truggy tires, and then you just forgot to tighten the two wheel nuts in the front of your car, and you crank on the throttle and it just goes and just eats the plastic right. That's it. There's nothing you can do. It's over. It's $50 in tires, and you just cleaned out the hexes on in 2 seconds.
You burnt it up.
Basically. Make sure your wheels are tight. It gets it all the time. 10 scale, I see it. 8 scale, on road, off road.
Yeah.
Oh, the wheel was loose. Stripped out the wheel. Brand new tread pattern. And the worst thing is you strip out one wheel, now you got 3 good tires.
Yeah.
And you got one bad one. Even if you go buy another set of tires, you still got one tire left. Basically, most was loosen up another wheel, like strip that one out, and then put the 2 new ones
there,
in.
now it's all even.
But honestly, it sounds trivial, but make sure your wheels are tight, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the easiest thing.
Can you over-tighten your wheels?
Ask Justin. we had a car come in with the wheel nut that was so tight. We had a wrench on it, and I found a little pipe to slide over it, and we're like, ugh.
You shouldn't need a breaker bar for an RC car.
It took all we had to get that wheel nut off. And it wasn't even, we thought it was cross-threaded on, but it wasn't. That wheel wasn't going to strip out. Wow. We almost had to cut it off. But we got it. Yeah, that was crazy.
I know. It happens. I had to ask.
Yeah.
No,
And if you do have a problem with the wheels coming off, try some Loctite on there, or try some new wheel nuts. Sometimes a nylock in the wheel nut gets worn out.
Yes.
Try to get a nice set of serrated wheel nuts that dig into the plastic.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some things you can do. Even upgrade your wheel nuts, as dumb as that sounds. There are better wheel nuts to hold more power.
The serrated ones that bite the wheel
sharp
are
serrated one.
awesome.
You flip the wheel nut over, you look on the backside, and you actually see like
there's plastic in it.
It's polished, and then it's like razor sharp. And then when Tyler says when you take it off the wheel, it's like and plastic stuck in it. That's how you know it's digging in.
Yep.
And then clean the plastic back off before you put it in too. So it's a side thing that a lot of people skip. Clean the plastic off the serration and then put it back in. But as far as anything else for tire maintenance, I think that's about it. Besides checking to make sure they're glued properly. Doesn't hurt to pick up a bottle of glue for $10 and touch up your tires every once in a while. Manufacturers skip a spot sometimes. Ready-to-run tires are usually less than desirably glued. They're usually just thrown together on an assembly line.
Make sure they're clean. Make sure they're dry. Make sure they're oil free.
Yeah.
And
Simple
you can touch them up. Yeah. Motor
Just some,
cleaner,
super glue.
whatever.
Yeah.
They're just super glued together. If you have B-locks, make sure the screws are staying tight.
Mm-hmm.
Just little things like that will save you from buying, a $50 tire or $20 tire, $30 tire, this or that. Just easy things that take 2 seconds to check just when you're done running your car to give a good look over the tires.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it for our quick synopsis in tires, I think. I don't think I had anything left here. Belted tires, speed running, on-road tires. There's just all kinds of tires.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. And you guys got anything else?
Mini Nats on Saturday.
Mini Nats on Saturday.
The mini Nats are on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, they start Saturday.
If you buy a mini, it's free entry. And by the time you're done with the raffles, you'll probably walk away with more cars than you started the day with.
That's what I'm saying.
There's
You're
literally a 4-foot-tall mountain of stuff on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of giveaways. It's going to be fun. Hopefully it'll be a good crowd.
We got mini tires too. Even they got mini tires, different tire compound. Proline actually. Shout out to Proline. They got the mini game going good. Actually,
Schumacher.
Yeah, they do.
JC does too. Schumacher. Oh yeah, for the LCs.
For
I was
the
talking
LC.
mini T.
Yeah.
But yeah, even the tire game for that's getting real.
Mm-hmm.
Tires, man.
So hold on. Do you guys have, you don't have newer, nothing for the LCs, just the Schumachers? Or
Schumachers will be run on that at the moment. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't
current
know
time.
I didn't know if anything else came in.
Not that I know of.
Okay. Alright.
But anyway, guys, that is our show on tires. If you have any questions, I'm sure we left something out. Feel free to comment or message us, and we'll help you out. Come on down to the shop. I can show you all kinds of tires for basically whatever. We got 3 full cubbies full of tires, probably 4 pretty soon because there's so many tires. They got them on the floor. There's so many different sizes. It's crazy, honestly. So just come down, see us, hit us up. But anyway, thanks for watching the show, guys. We'll see you all again next week. I think we're talking drag racing, but it could be wrong. And tune in for the mini Nats, which should be live streaming for Saturday and Sunday for that, so you can watch it on the channel, see what's going on. Watch the prize giveaway. Check the Facebook page for pictures and comments. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you all again in the next one.
See ya.